UFC 280 went off with a bang. None of the fights disappointed, and it left many questions in the air about the future. So who will Islam Makhachev, Aljamain Sterling, and Sean O'Malley face next? Plus, how did Dana White react to the brawl between Khamzat Chimaev and Abubakar Nurmagomedov? Stay tuned for all of that and more coming right up. First, after UFC 280, Charles Oliveria and Islam Makhachev headlined UFC 280 and did not disappoint. Oliveira was heading in as the slim favorite who was on a magical 11-fight win streak, including 2 title defenses. That was until he ran into Islam Makhachev. Makhachev kept up with Oliveira's striking before taking him to the ground. That was to be expected. Makhachev has been trained by Khabib Nurmagomedov, a UFC legend whose trademark wrestling and ground and pound made him virtually unbeatable. On the other side, Charles Oliveira is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and has the record for the most submissions in UFC history. But once Oliveira was on the ground, his skills seemed to evaporate. Oliveira couldn't keep up with the wrestling strength of Makhachev, and it didn't last long. It took less than 2 rounds for the Dagestani to secure the win with an arm triangle choke. Next, Makhachev versus Volkanovski. After his dominant win over Charles Oliveira, Makhachev revealed his goal for the future. In the post-fight press conference, he said that he aims to be the #1 pound-for-pound champion before deciding what's next. But Makhachev has a more immediate challenge on his horizon. As soon as he was finished with Oliveira, another champion stepped into the octagon to have his say. Alexander Volkanovski, who is the featherweight king, teased an upcoming fight between himself and Makhachev. What's even more interesting is that it seems to have the green light from the boss. UFC President Dana White confirmed that the 2 champions could be facing off in the near future. Talking about Makhachev's next fight, Dana said, "It looks like Volkanovski is next." Another incredible fight. Makhachev admits that Volkanovski is tough, but that he should jump up to 155 pounds if he wants to make the fight happen. Makhachev even said that he was willing to go to Volkanovski's backyard in Australia to beat him. And Makhachev's coach and close friend, Khabib Nurmagomedov, had a gentle warning for Volkanovski. While he said that he respects the Australian, Khabib said, "We're gonna take your place, brother." Since Volkanovski is the current pound-for-pound #1, beating him would surely put Makhachev at the top of the standings. A fight between the two could happen at UFC 284, which is in Perth, Australia, and only a few months away. Next, rival camps call a truce. When Khamzat Chimaev and Abubakar Nurmagomedov almost got into a brawl at UFC 280, they risked more than just their faces. An altercation was captured on film when the two faced each other in the audience. Punches were thrown and security had to restrain them. Having a public fight at a UFC event isn't the best way to get on the good side of the promotion, but President Dana White seemed to be much more understanding than you'd expect. When asked about it, he said, "It happens, especially with Khamzat. It happens." Not long after the event, though, it looked like it was water under the bridge. A video posted to social media showed Chimaev and Nurmagomedov together to resolve their misunderstanding. Khabib was also there to help his cousin squash the beef. All hail Khabib the Peacemaker. Next, McGregor thinks he could beat Makhachev. 2 men who are never far away from the media headlines are Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. So it's no surprise that they both had their say after UFC 280. On Twitter, McGregor claimed that he had built all the tools to counter Makhachev's style in the octagon since he lost to Khabib in 2018. Khabib brought a spectacular end to McGregor's trash talking by beating him on his feet before submitting him on the ground. So it's no surprise that McGregor has been thinking about how to beat him over the last 2 years. But some are skeptical of how far the notorious one has actually progressed. McGregor has only won 1 fight in the past 4 years, and his interests seem to be increasingly in things outside of the octagon instead. One of his biggest critics, Jake Paul, was quick to remind him of this. The YouTuber turned boxer said that the only tools that McGregor had built were Twitter fingers, and then went on to say Islam would Khabib him in round 1. After continuing on a tirade, McGregor seemed to have some sort of regret as he deleted all of the tweets, but not before he told Islam Makhachev to shut his mouth. Careful, Conor. We all know what happened last time you were making threats like that. Despite dropping in the rankings, though, McGregor is still a cash cow for the UFC, so Makhachev might choose to take out Khabib's rival once and for all, but not anytime soon. Dana White has confirmed that McGregor isn't even in the USADA testing pool. At this point, McGregor is more of a fan than a fighter. Next up, how did Aljamain Sterling wipe the floor with TJ Dillashaw, and why is Sterling so hesitant to move up to featherweight? So don't go anywhere. Aljamain Sterling. Sterling left no doubt about who was the top dog in the bantamweight division with utter domination over former champion TJ Dillashaw at UFC 280. The contender was struggling with a dislocated shoulder, but most commentators think that Sterling would have won the fight regardless. So what's next for the champion, and how has he managed to piss off Henry Cejudo? Sterling is on fire right now. He hasn't dropped a fight since 2017, taking the title from Petr Yan to reignite the division after Henry Cejudo announced his retirement. And despite holding the title for almost a year, Sterling isn't that impressed with Henry Cejudo's time at the top. Sterling said it all depends on timing, referring to how Cejudo won the vacant title and then defended against Dominic Cruz on short notice. Sterling said that he went up against fighters on full training camps experience and with credentials. His conclusion was that he would comfortably beat Cejudo if the two ever fought. And if you know anything about Cejudo, then you know that he wasn't going to take that lying down. He responded with an Instagram video where he told Sterling, "There's one king and his name is Triple C. Sign the contract." That comment suggests that there could be a fight in the works. Cejudo did confirm earlier this year that he had re-entered USADA's dope testing pool to come out of retirement, and it would be nice to see Cejudo fighting again instead of talking on his podcast. Sterling plans to move divisions. These days, it's not enough to hold one championship belt. Everyone seems to be chasing 2 or even 3 division titles, and Aljamain Sterling is no exception. In the past, he said he was hesitant to move to featherweight because of his close partnership with teammate Merab Dvalishvili, but the time has come for him to put that aside as Aljamain chases a second belt. He said that it was inevitable that he would be moving up to featherweight because it was getting harder to make the weight cut. His friend Merab Dvalishvili is determined not to face Sterling though, saying that there was no condition he would accept the fight, and Sterling is on the same page. Responding to criticism of them both avoiding each other, he said, "People can say whatever they want. Obviously, you never had any real friends. Anything I need, he's there. Anything he needs from me, I'm there." There could be a way to avoid the fight though. The featherweight champion is Alexander Volkanovski, so if Sterling can leapfrog his friend to take on the champion, it would be his preference. And it definitely wouldn't be the first time that a champion enters a new division and is given a title shot straight away. But Dana White seems to be more interested in putting Sterling up against Cejudo first. At a press conference, the president responded to who Sterling will fight next by saying, "What about Henry Cejudo? That work? You like that?" Later, he admitted that the suggestion was just off the top of his head, but it doesn't mean he's not considering it. Next, Sean O'Malley continues to move up. Sean O'Malley's win over Petr Yan had fans divided. Yan was able to take O'Malley more than once and land some heavy strikes, but in the end, the judges handed the fight to O'Malley with a split decision. Plenty of fans reacted with shock. Khabib Nurmagomedov couldn't believe that Yan didn't win, but digging into the stats, O'Malley had many more significant strikes than Yan, so it wasn't a total robbery. With a win over the #1 ranked bantamweight, O'Malley might have secured himself a title shot against Aljamain Sterling, and the outspoken fighter has no doubt about where his career is heading from here. He said that it's inevitable that he will become a champion at some point, and promised that he would be in the sport for a long time. O'Malley also said the decision was even sweeter because of how he got hit by Yan. So what's next for Sean "Suga" O'Malley? There's no indication of who his next opponent will be, but O'Malley made his priorities clear. First, he wants to renegotiate his UFC contract. O'Malley said that he's still waiting for his Conor Aldo moment, where Conor McGregor exploded in the MMA world, but he thinks he's on his way to superstardom. But he did admit how tough the fight with Petr Yan was, telling the media that he just wanted to go home after Abu Dhabi. Who do you want Makhachev, Sterling, and O'Malley to fight next? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.